a word on personality of presidents, because there was a piece, it was yesterday, I think, in the New York Times by Charles Blow. I mean, not exactly a conservative guy. And he was talking about Biden's problems and this devastating Quinnipiac poll that shows his approval rating at 33%. Maybe it's an outlier, but as he points out, there have been 4 major national polls released last week, and in 3 of them, Biden has the lowest showing of his presidency. So he's struggling. There's no getting around that for the White House. And it comes on the heels of a Politico interview, as Blow also notes, with Biden's pollster, in which he's very blunt and says there's really no one who would deny this is a really sour environment for Democrats. And Blow is asking the question about what if the issue here is not the messaging, right? Because the White House and the pollster, they all say, we got to do better on the messaging. If we could just get the message out. They sent Biden on a 2-city tour to bring the message to the American people. Like, oh, wow. Okay. But he says, what if it's not the messaging, but the messenger? And he makes the point, Charles Blow does, that voters have a void of emotional connection to him, that they can't cheer him on. And if they can't cheer you, they will chide you. And talks about how he's just not resonating even with the people on his side, to the point that you were just making, which is even if his people like his policies, and I don't know that they do, they feel nothing for him.
Right. And if they felt more strongly about Biden, then perhaps they would kind of overlook some of the awful consequences of his policies. I think one of the more revealing poll results in recent weeks was Gallup asked the public what their concerns are. Of course, the number one is the economy, cost of living, the inflation. It's devastating America. Number 2, though, was poor leadership in government. And I think that the electorate has come to a conclusion about Joe Biden, and it is a negative one. And the conclusion really began with our withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's carried on through the mixed messaging on COVID during the Omicron wave. It's gone through the inflation. The public is not giving Biden the benefit of the doubt. And that's because we have to remember why Biden is in the Oval Office. He didn't win the Democratic nomination because he had a grip over a core constituency or was able to have everybody swoon over his words. He won the Democratic nomination basically because Democratic bigwigs realized that he was the only plausible candidate to take on Trump in the general election, that the alternative was Bernie Sanders, and a Sanders nomination might mean a total collapse of the Democrats. And then he won the general election, in my view, mainly because he wasn't Donald Trump, and that it wasn't a mandate he received from the public. It was an anti-mandate. It was, don't be Donald Trump, and otherwise don't do anything else. And that's why the Republicans performed better than expected at the congressional level in order to even check Biden there. But of course, Biden, with not realizing that he received an anti-mandate, not realizing that he had the smallest margin in the House of Representatives for Democrats in 100 years, decided, you know what, I will be FDR without the charm. And that has not worked out well for him at all. Right.
And not only going hard left on economic policy, but going hard left on social issues, which many believe is why he's seeing such a precipitous drop with Hispanics. Those 2 issues. Hispanics tend to be more conservative socially, and he hasn't been, and they're getting hit by these pocketbook issues in a way they weren't under the Trump administration. And so, the White House is in a panic. There's no question. They understand what's coming their way in these midterms, and the only real question is, do they lose the Senate and the House, or just the House? And do they even try to pivot? They tried to pivot away from COVID, but do they try to pivot away from anything else? Right now, Matt, they're not. Right now, there's talk in the news today, you've seen it before, of the new plan to bring back, Build Back Better, the $2 trillion additional spending plan that was already rejected because they couldn't get their own party, namely Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, to sign on to it. And they're going to revive it right now with record inflation. They're going to spend more if their party allows it.
Yeah, this is Night of the Living Dead when it comes to legislation. I don't see much of a chance for Build Back Better, precisely as you say, Megyn, because of the inflation. That was Joe Biden's main concern in December when he came out against the bill. Inflation has gotten only worse with time. Look, the window is closing on this Democratic majority, and I don't think they really know what to do. And it's because they're so beholden to their progressive left-wing base that they're unable to pivot to the center. You mentioned the Hispanic vote and the realignment of the Hispanic vote, just this epical development in American politics. Another issue there is schools. I think we still haven't internalized the anger and frustration and grief in many cases among American parents because of the way that the schools handled COVID, the way that they continue to handle issues like masking. And then, of course, COVID provided this moment of radical transparency into what is being taught in the schools. And there too, parents are up in arms. So when you think of the education issue, for example, historically, that has been to the benefit of the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. And so too with the economy. Democrats have often benefited from coming into office after a recession, right? And so they take credit for the natural recovery of the economy after a recession. In many ways, that's what Barack Obama did. That's what Bill Clinton did. Biden doesn't have that luxury because of his very policies, because of that stimulus bill he put in place a year ago, despite the warnings of Democratic economists that it would unleash inflation. He did it anyway. The inflation came. And now, not only is education not a Democratic advantage, the economy is no longer a Democratic advantage. And that, I think, spells victory for Republicans in November.
Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-founded company serving premium coffee to people who love America. They develop their explosive roast profiles with the same mission focus learned as military members, serving this great country of ours. And in 2021, Black Rifle Coffee donated over 100,000 bags of coffee. That's over 2.1 million cups to first responders, law enforcement, and active duty military members. So you know that with every purchase you make, Black Rifle is going to give back. Black Rifle Coffee imports high-quality coffee beans from Colombia and Brazil, and they roast them 5 days a week at their facilities in Manchester, Tennessee and Salt Lake City, Utah, which means you get the freshest coffee possible no matter where you live. They've got us covered. The best way to enjoy Black Rifle's freedom-filled coffee is with the Black Rifle Coffee Club. When you join the club, your brew of choice is roasted, packaged, and shipped free to your door on your schedule. Buy it at blackriflecoffee.com. Use the code MK at checkout for 20% off your purchase and your first coffee club order. That's blackriflecoffee.com/MK. Use that code MK. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.